Well, my name is Tonya Keels. I go online as Affirmed One. Certain people know me as Love Love. My business is Affirmed Kreations, and I am what I like to call a mind, body, and soul care company. I do take care of your skin, but I also do mentoring and coaching. So I'm also helping you take care of your mind and your body at the same time. So we are a full body company in every aspect of the way. Create butters, and the butters are all natural. They're made from nature's resources, which I have a butter called 3 nut butter. That's my best example. So 3 nuts is what's better than two, three. And that includes shea butter, coconut oil, coconut butter, and coconut oil. So the 3 best nuts for your skin. Um, I also do sugar scrubs and facial tonics. And I also do hair oils because I found that using different products that other companies were creating were drying out my hair, or they were just making the ends of my hair oily but not like the base of my hair. And I have a mixture of 4C hair and some other hair, which is all the way down the spectrum of Asian. So I needed to find oils that actually nurtured my hair the way that I needed it nurtured. And I also found that there's other girls out there that have the same type of hair structure that I do that needed the same thing. So I just started mixing different oils that were all natural and good for your hair, like avocado oil, jojoba oil. What else do we use? Olive oil, castor oil, African castor oil. That all those different oils mixed together in different ways assist your hair in maintaining its curl, maintaining its wave, and maintaining its moisture. Things that we need, especially out here when the environment is getting so crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about what build up to you having a small business. Tell me your story.
So I've always had, my son is the reason for the business. It's Affirmed Kreations, or my son's initials. His name is Alex Keels. So it came from him having eczema and me not being able to use the lotions and creams that they actually had out at the stores because they had chemicals in it, or they had perfumes in it, or they had parabens in it. They're also made with water, which is the first ingredient on most of them. And that was drying out his skin and making his eczema worse. So I've always in some way used an all natural base, like either cocoa butter or we used olive oil on him, but I never at the time had thought about combining the two. So he was really the basis for this business. And then in 2020, when that happened, I just had nothing to do but sit at home and figure out a new way to create. And I have a sister who loves the butters. I used to make them and give them away, and she told me that this was an amazing product and that I needed to sell it. So shout out to my sister Morgan Phillips, and here I am today. And literally it's all because someone else believed in what I was doing. That's why I'm here. That's why I created it. That's why 4 years later, everyone that's supported Affirmed Kreations from the beginning, that's why we're here. And everyone that has supported me in delving into my spiritual work and my healing has brought me to my mentoring and coaching aspect and the other healing aspect of it, which that's where we're here for today, to get into that.
Okay, so let's go back to the spirituality and healing work. Can you tell me more about your spiritual journey and specifically what modality that you practice?
Okay, so my spiritual journey starts in California, and that starts with my mom. And her introduction to spirituality for me is my mom is a Buddhist, and she participates in Nichiren Shoshu. So it's a very old practice in California and in Japan. So I grew up in that. I grew up with the chanting. I grew up with the mantras. I grew up with all of the peace and the meditation. So that was a really good introduction. And then in the summers, I would spend time with my grandmother, who is from South Carolina, and she is a Southern Baptist. So I got the download of that part of the religious religion, but I also got the prayer work from my grandmother because my grandma was big on prayer and going to church and just constantly praying for our family and praying for my dad and his siblings' highest good. So that part comes from like them introducing me to religion and spirituality, and then my dad telling me that as I get older, the God that I find is going to be the right God for me. That all they can do is introduce me to God, but I have to pick and find the right one that's for me. And so, with all of that journey, I came to spirituality, which allows me to kind of like just follow my heart and do what I feel is right in my heart and not in my mind.
Okay. So tell me more about root work. Is it something that you brought up off camera to me? And I want the audience to know more about that and how you practice it.
So root work is, for me, a foundation of knowing your history, and that means going all the way back to where you come from, knowing who you are. That's the root. And then the other aspect of root work is utilizing the dirt, the earth, fruits and vegetables, oils, teas, and tinctures, things like that. That's all root work. Not going outside of those things and looking for healing, but looking within those things and using them together to heal. So root work and spirituality means knowing your history so that you can utilize that foundation to move forward in life and know what your ancestors did to kind of get through those times. So, and a lot of my ancestors were farmers, so that has a lot to do with farming the earth and utilizing those resources that you have out there in your yard, whether that's like fern weeds or like the things that we think are weeds today were actually the real salad and are really the things that like nurture your body and heal your body. So that is where the root work came from, like knowing my history. And my dad used to travel with us to different plantations. So I had the opportunity of getting my history in my hand on those plantations and just feeling the energy that came from those people that actually were in those homes that were made out of dirt floors. So that's a lot of it.
So speaking of knowing your history and root work and spirituality, what do you think, how important is it for you to know your history before?
For me, it's everything because so much of who you are is what you bring to the table. And it's easy for you to be influenced by other people when you don't know who you are. They can like kind of show you things and make you feel like maybe you want to be this or maybe you want to be that. But when you know who you are, you can kind of like put all that other stuff away and just start focusing on the purpose. And when I started doing, like, my dad worked at a historically black college, so I was able to take African American studies and be around a lot of black students and a lot of black teachers. And being in that environment made me feel like I need to know more about the history of Africa, even though my connection to Africa starts with slavery and my grandmother and my father being connected to that. But overall, just knowing where you come from gives you that foundation to move forward in life because, like I say, everywhere I go, I bring my blackness and my Japanese with me. So we are not separate. We're all together.
So speaking of being all together, when I was doing my research in African spirituality, I noticed that there are so many modalities out there. And when you're trying to learn more about your roots and just integrating the practice of African spirituality into your everyday life, sometimes that can be a little overwhelming. So for someone like me who's just starting, what would you say to them? How can they get started with that, with the practice?
So there's so many different practices of African spirituality. So you can get into Haitian practices, and that is from the island of Haiti, or you can get into Haitian practices that come out of New Orleans, Voodoo. It just depends on how you want to connect with your African American roots, and sometimes that's like visiting the African American Museum, and there's a place in Alabama that has all the slave history. Like, that's a great place to start because wherever you are, you're calling spirit to be with you, and your ancestors are constantly walking with you. So going to places like that are great ways to kind of like pull that energy into you. And then when you leave those places, take that energy with you, because honestly, those are the people that sacrificed so that we could literally walk and podcast and create a business where they couldn't, where they didn't have those opportunities. So like that's the best place to go back. Also look into like the Black Panthers, like starting there and seeing like exactly who they were and what they created and what their foundation was really about, like knowing your history and who the creators are, like what you can possibly do, like inventors. Because we go to so many schools that are structured by white men and women, they don't teach you about Black inventors. But a lot of what we have and utilize today was created by Black inventors. So it behooves us as individuals to go and get this history. If you don't go to HBCU and don't have that access, some white schools do teach African American studies. Like take a class, like learn about it. But you can't say that it's not there if you're not looking for it, because it's there.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of what happens whenever we get a little overwhelmed with the information is we feel like there's no connection. But the connection comes with learning more about our history, learning more
Right.
about our roots. So when you started doing that on your end, what was some of the things that what are some of the resources that you use to learn more about your genealogy, your past, your ancestors?
So my dad did his 23andMe, and we found out that my dad's Nigerian. I think he's 42% Nigerian. So I just started like looking into Nigerian history, folklore. Um, First of all, just the people, period, and knowing how driven they are, how educated they are, to know that that is my dad's bloodline, and to see where my dad is now, is he's absolutely Nigerian. Like he is a hard worker. He's highly educated. My dad's constantly reading. Um, he's constantly like striving for better. First of all, my dad retired my mom when she was 45, and then he retired her. She came back to work 3 years, and then he retired her again at 48, and then she retired him at 50. So just know that he did his due diligence to make sure that the savings were saved, and so that they could retire comfortably. And now they just get to sit back and enjoy their grandchildren. So it's like that kind of environment, when you know who you are, where you come from, how hard you have to work to get to where you can be comfortable, then that's the foundation. Like, and just knowing that that's what my dad was doing all that time, like, and he didn't find out his blood history until maybe he was in his early 70s. So just knowing that that was always in him, to strive for this excellence. And my mom is Japanese, so she's always come with her history and shared her past with us. And that too, I've grown strength from that too, because there's certain things in everyone's culture. Like Japanese people are very superstitious. So there was things that my mom has told me that I don't play about till this day.
You said your mom's Japanese?
Yeah, my mom's Japanese.
That's so interesting.
Like, there's things that, well, she did her 23andMe too, and we found out that she has Korean in her. So, and we do like Korean barbecue. Yeah, so just them doing that allows me to kind of like learn more. You know, knowing that my dad was from South Carolina, I learned about South Carolina and the history of South Carolina. But when he did his 23andMe and we found out we were Nigerian, I did even more history and more work. So them doing their history research is allowing me to know more about what's in me, what drives me, like where some of these things are coming from. Because in my business, I incorporate using all natural stuff, because that's how my mom took care of my skin. If we ever got cuts and scrapes, my mom's like, go outside and get some aloe, open that up, put it on your wound, you'll be fine. And then to take care of the scars, she'd use a cocoa butter stick. So I'm sharing the things that I grew up with that have always worked with a new group of people that are not being educated about this or not having the exposure to it. So that's where root work and knowing your history all ties in, and all that spirituality. So using spirituality in my business, always making sure that I'm in partnership with God, I get my products from wholesalers and natural companies out here. And before I create, I take it to my church. They pray over it for 30 days. They bring it back to me. And I do not touch my products unless I'm in the essence of love and happiness and joy, because everything that I'm doing, I'm putting that into it. And I want to make sure that I'm always putting positivity into the things that I'm creating. So that's where affirmed creations come from, because everything is already being affirmed. Like they're praying over it for 30 days. I'm creating it and I'm praying over it. So now it's like being infused with all of this positivity. So then when you get it, you're able to feel that love and that positivity as you're putting on the lotion on your skin, or if you're using the scrubs, or if you're using the aloe healing on your face to set your makeup. That is my intention behind doing what I'm doing, like creating what I'm creating, like sharing what I'm sharing.
Okay.
So root work has helped me personally as far as like my son having eczema, and just knowing like what foods and vegetables and things to cook for him to make sure that his eczema didn't flare up and that his skin had the best possible opportunity to heal through that. Um, in my personal life with root work, I definitely use the foods now. I'm way more conscious of what I'm eating. So if I'm trying to if I'm trying to add more energy into my life, I'm going to eat more dragon fruits. I'm going to eat more yellow kiwis, not the green ones, but the yellow golden kiwis. I'm going to eat more white vegetables, more white fruits like yellow Chinese cantaloupe. So using root work in that aspect to heal my body, and then using natural resources in my products. So I don't use any the only thing I use outside product wise would be that Australian company that does the shampoos. So I forgot what they're called. Aussie. So I use their conditioner. That's the one thing I use. And then I will use Noxzema. I absolutely love Noxzema. I don't care. My mom has used Noxzema since day one, and I'm not leaving Noxzema. So, like, those are some outside products that I will use. But overall, everything that I put on my face is Affirmed Creations, all natural. And everything I put in my hair is Affirmed Creations, all natural. So, like, root work, as far as like using all natural stuff, that I'm never going to leave that. That constantly is like my empowering, my fuel. That's what's going behind me. Now, my spiritual practices, I absolutely had a blast in college taking this like world religion class that kind of like delved into every religion. And I had a phenomenal teacher that made us go to every religion we studied. We had to go to a temple. We had to go and participate in those ceremonies. So when I went through that, my son was going to those with me, synagogues, things like that. So we not only learned about the people, the religion, the culture, but we started finding I started finding a love for each one of those religions. And when I was done with the studies, I went on and studied further about the religions that I really had more passion about. And I started incorporating little pieces of those religions into my personal and home life with my child. So every year we celebrate Hanukkah, and I always buy like dreidels for my kids. So my son's got a lot of dreidels and I love dreidels too. Um, we we totally participate in Kwanzaa, and I like making things from scratch. So my business is a from scratch business. So how I use my spirit work when connecting, when helping others. So the best example I can give is my sister's dad, who has the early onset dementia and Alzheimer's, came down from New York, and I was helping her keep an eye on him. And he happened to leave the house one day and basically get on a bus and travel at least a 45 to almost an hour away distance to from where we lived. Um, and I'm laughing because my sister had to call the police because she couldn't find him, and the police came to her house looking for him. And we live in maybe a 650 square foot like apartments or townhouses. And so, she called me and she's like, the police are here. They're looking for dad. And, they like for you to come home. So I'm like, what do they want me to come home for? And she was like, they want to look in your apartment. So, I'm laughing because I'm like, I assure you, I just left my apartment. And if I had seen at least a 5'11" black man in my living room, I would have told him to go home. So me and my sister are laughing, and she's like, "Well, they wanted to talk to you," and I was like, "I'm not coming home." Like I was at the bar drinking with some friends, and I was like, "I'm not coming home. I'm not coming home." So I told her, I was like, "I'm going to call his mom, and I'm going to call your mom, his ex-wife, and I'm going to tell them to find him and get his ass home like ASAP because I'm not leaving the bar." So I hang up with her. I sit quietly. Like my best friend's like, "What are you about to do?" I was like, "I'm about to call his mom." And both of these women, God bless their souls, have both since transitioned on from us. So I called Miss Johnson and Mrs. Johnson, and I basically just said a prayer. Like, I don't know where he is, but I know you do, and he needs to get home, like now. And within 20 or 30 minutes, my sister Vanna called me and she said, "I don't know what just happened." She was like, this man found dad walking. He was in a place called Valkyria, and it's a very, very, very far place from where we live. It's like 35 to 45 minutes to get there. There's an airport on the road that he was on. So he was literally at a distant place from us. And this man was driving on the road, and he said he saw him and he looked like he was lost, which he was. And he asked him if he needed a ride, and he said he did. And by the grace of God, her dad knew our address, and this man drove him 45 minutes all the way from Valkyria to Melbourne to where we live to drop him off safely. And there was nobody else where he was. Nobody would have found him. The police were nowhere near. They were looking within the vicinity, maybe 5 miles from where we live, like he was lost locally. But this man found him, and that's how I know spirit is real, because I was at a bar. She was at home. The police are in her yard, so they weren't looking for him. And so who else could it have been? Because those are the only two people I called, and they were the only two people that knew where he was. So for me, doing spirit work is not just because my family member has died and lost their body doesn't mean they've lost their connection to me. So once I realized that we're still connected, when I need help, I call on them. I don't look outside of myself. I call the people that I have relationships with, that have a better view of things, a better connection to those things that are outside of my visual and my spatial connection. You're connected to your loved ones, just like when I did your reading and your mom was there. The cards laid the way they were because you were open to your mom being there and being present in the read. In those last three cards, speak up, manifest, and I forgot what the last one was. It was speak up, manifest.
Wasn't it doing or get started or something?
Get started. It was like something in action.
Yeah.
So when we say that, that's you walking with your mom. Your mom is going to go everywhere you are because you're open to her being everywhere you are at all times. So she is going to be there and making sure that you're having the best experience. And if there's anything that she needs to convey, she's going to make sure that you go where someone will convey her message to you. So that's how spirit works. I don't put it on anybody. I don't promote it to anybody. Like, I don't have to. Wherever I am, God is. And if you need it, you're going to find me.
So you technically just brought up something about discernment there, because sometimes we can kind of get these messages and either we're, one, not ready to receive them, or we're not able to notice the messages that are coming through.
Or you don't believe it.
Or we don't believe it. So in your opinion, for someone who is struggling with receiving, what should they do? How do they be able to tell?
The best way to know is to be conscious of what you're asking. Like in my church, they have this song called Our Thoughts Are Prayers. And in that song, it says, your thoughts are prayers. Be careful what you're thinking. Okay? So if you think about that, if my thought is a prayer, if you're thinking something negative, then you're asking for it. If you're thinking for something positive, then you're asking for it. Like that's how that works. So, it's kind of like a game to catch yourself being negative and think 5 positive thoughts. But that's really what it is. Like you're constantly, if you want nice things to come into your life, then you have to think nice things. And it comes not here out, it comes from here out. So whenever I'm doing something, I'm always starting here, then building it up, speaking it, bringing it to fruition, and then blessing it so that it's being authentic. It's real. Like I don't want something that comes from here, because if you know anything about your mind can write a story. The next thing you know, you've got like Lord of the Rings going on up there, like a 4 like story trilogy, and it's really not that. It's not that.
Okay, so let's talk about holding space for our practices and
And for
being
others,
okay with being with ourselves rather than by ourselves. So, your home practice, what does your space look like that's been dedicated to the practice?
oh my gosh. So my offerenda is a 3, 6, 9, a 9 cubed um, shelf. And in my shelf, I have one cube dedicated to living people and kids. So I put all of my nieces, my nephews, cousins, kids, everybody's in that, and they're prayed over. And then the rest of the spaces are used for people that have passed away. Like when I get those little readers that you share at funerals, I put those there. And in my offerenda, I have money from all the places that I've traveled. I have pictures of the people that have passed away. I have gifts that I've like gotten from those people that have passed away. Um, I make sure that I put food in my offerenda for them. I have 3 shot glasses full of different liquors in my offerenda. Like some of my ancestors drink wine, and some of them like hard liquor. So I make sure that I have tequila, I have gin, and I have wine. Um, my grandson passed away last year, which I'll be celebrating him soon. Um, I have Cheez Its for him because he loved the Cheez Its or the little fish crackers. I have candy there for him. Um, I have some toys that he left at my house up there. So, you know, I'm never ever separated from my family and my loved ones. And also in my offerenda, I have my dolls, my voodoo dolls, and we were talking about moss. My voodoo dolls are made of moss from the trees in Louisiana. So, like, I'm constantly offering them like money, jewelry. So when I buy new pieces or things like that from my jeweler before I create, I always like break a piece of that off and I put it on one of my dolls so that they know that I'm constantly in like thanks and gratitude for what they're doing and how they're guiding me and keeping me protected, and not only keeping me protected but also keeping, the people that they're connected to protected, even if they don't know that they're connected still. So like I had a friend who's my son's one of his ex-girlfriends, her mom passed away. And for me, her connection is really strong because she knows how much I loved her daughter. I love both of them. So now that she's not here, I'm constantly like cheering them on, like encouraging them, letting them know that if they need anything, she had other girlfriends, that it's a different energy for me with Becca and Gilly to physically tell them the things that their mom would physically say to them if she was here. So, like, I hold that relationship with her very, very close. I also have a best friend that passed away, and her son is. I see her son, Daylon, all the time, and I make sure to, every time I see him, I call her to where I am and let her know that he's doing great and that I'm always praying for him too. So it's like holding a space for other people even when they're not around. That increases the love and the positivity, not just for me and my practice but also for them, because sometimes when people are by themselves, they think they're by themselves and they don't know that someone else is praying for them. And then they feel this like kind of burst of energy or this burst of love or this warming feeling that makes them feel like somebody is supporting them. I had a niece recently contact me, and she was in jail, and she said that, while she was in there, she thought about me. And I said, that's because I was praying for you. Like, it doesn't matter whether my niece talks to me every day or I see her every day. I'm always holding a space for them because we're already connected. So I'm always praying. Every morning I get up at 5 o'clock, I'm praying, and then I go right back to sleep and then restart my day at 6, write in my journal. Like, I am constantly running over like who I'm praying for, whether it be my son, my sons, my grandkids, my daughters. And we were talking about the community. Like, those kids are not blood related to me, but they're part of my community. So that is like, they're my responsibility to pray over. They're my responsibility to hold space for. Yes, they all do have parents, but that doesn't mean that their parents are holding a space for them or praying for them. So it's nice to have someone else in the community do that for you so that you still are getting that support. And that's what I realized with my grandmother bringing in the praying and being Southern Baptist. Like, we're in church on Monday, we're in church on Wednesday, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm just like, why are you going to church so much? But I understand it's that faithfulness, that dedication. Like, who's going to hold the space when you're all out here having a good time?
Right.
Who's praying for you? You don't even know if someone's praying for you. While you're out here living dangerous, who's praying for you? Like, that's what my grandmother was saying. Like, I'm praying for all of you while you're out here living your each individual lives. Like, I'm holding a space for you. So for me, like, having all of that influence and just knowing how to use it and when to use it, as I got older, it all just came back. Like, you've already known what it was, what to do. It's just about how are you going to implement it? Like, what are you going to do to walk in your purpose? And so them teaching me all of that at a young age, and then now I'm older, when everybody's like, I don't know what my purpose is, and I'm like, sit, meditate, be quiet, and remember, like, what were you already being introduced to? Because sometimes that early introduction is actually getting you prepared for your purpose later on in life. And my purpose is to be a healer, and whether that means creating products that heal your skin, or whether that is healing you with encouraging words, like healing old wounds from helping you heal old hurts, like, so that you can move forward and be productive part of our community. Like, that's all like spirit work. That's all holding a space. That's all root work. That's all like tapping into my authenticity, like who I really am, like being comfortable with it.
So it seems like your practice, as well as a lot of other people's I noticed, isn't solely based on getting specific, like the orishas and the goddesses and the gods, and having specific sculptures on your altar and things like that. It's more about just holding space for your ancestors as a whole.
Right.
So
right.
That reminds me of the audiobook that you referenced me to by Abiola Abrams. And I don't remember the name of the audiobook.
I don't remember the name either. I think it's Goddess Initiation.
I think so.
The Goddess Initiation.
But one of the things she said that just like blew my mind was that you are not betraying your ancestors by healing your bloodline.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Listen, she's totally right about that. You doing the work now is kind of like what we said, like doing what they couldn't do, because they were in these limited positions, these limited spaces. And now that we are not limited on how we can move, like, that is absolutely like possible. So the ancestors, for me, I'm a water baby. I love being next to the water. So the river, the ocean, that's my place of peace. And for me, it's ritualistic that every time I go to the water, I make sure that I pray and I thank the ancestors that jumped in that water and drowned, so that the people that made it over here would have guides over there. And if you know what I mean, as far as like, they sacrificed so that the people over here could walk and they would guide them. So for me, it is, I know how to swim, and when I'm in that water, I'm letting you know that I'm here, I'm doing it for you. Like, I'm walking and I'm talking in a manner that shows my history and my ancestors. And then I still code switch, guilty. I just, I come from that era where you have to make certain people feel comfortable. But if anybody knows me, you know that I'm moving away from code switching so that I'm 100% comfortable. I'm 100% comfortable, meaning I'm being my authentic self 100%. Like, I'm bringing every aspect of who I am to the table, to the room, and not feeling like who I am has to be watered down or dumbed down so that you feel comfortable being around me. So let's talk about her book and how her goddess initiation has actually inspired me. It has validated that some of the things before she wrote this book, I was already doing these practices. Some of the rituals, the celebrations, like the sharing of libations with my ancestors. Like, I'm a cigar smoker, so I do that too. She just basically affirmed and validated that what I have been doing is the right steps and to continue doing those things. And celebrating myself is celebrating the goddesses in me and my orishas. Um, that was like so affirming, just to come to her book and just know that what she's saying I've already been doing, and it just felt really good to get that validation. My tarot reading, that is, so I brought her book right here with me to give you guys a little visual. African Goddess Rising. So I brought her book along with me, and that is actually the tarot card deck that I have started to move into. I started off with the original tarot decks, and they're all beautiful. Every deck is different in their own. I still use the medicine cards because those are Native American, and the animal medicine cards are beautiful because they talk about the animals and they give a Native American history about the animals and a little bit of background on that and how to use those animals. And I really feel like staying connected with the earth, you need to know the animals of the earth because those animals were walking on this earth before we were, and they are constantly a part of Native American culture. And I love the fact that they incorporate and respect the animal. So I still utilize those cards, and I reference my animal speak book. So if I'm out in nature and I see animals, I'm able to reference that. Um, this tarot deck for me, the reason why I switched and I used this is because I feel more connected and grounded with these cards, and I'm learning more about the more African aspects of women and how empowering their energy is, their love is, their womb is, our minds, our hearts. Like, there's so much leadership and love that comes from women and being a woman that this and goddess initiation and her tarot cards have given me that like full like 360 moment. Because if you notice, more women, yes, we are becoming more masculine, but it's because we have to do shit by ourselves and for ourselves. And this is kind of reminding me that although I do have to do car maintenance and things like that, and that is the masculine side, I can still be that loving, nurturing, safe, um, inspiring feminine energy that I need to and want to be still, on top of being that masculine energy. Reiki, that is the first thing that I learned how to do, like just channeling energy and getting my energy centered. And what I realized through learning about Reiki and those points and that design pattern is that certain levels of your chakras, you have to be healed in those areas of your chakras before you can like give healing to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, when I was going around other people that do Reiki, perform Reiki, I was like looking at them not as teachers, but looking at them as the healers that they say they are. So if you're having financial trouble, that's in your solar plex. And if you are generating energy, which is I'm generating heat to push through to you to move your chakras in the right way so that you can start generating that energy, that positive energy. So if you're having problems in your solar plex, like how can you heal someone else's solar plex? Like you could be pushing financial problems into somebody else who's not having financial problems in their solar plex. So I was just like, whoa, there's more levels to this healing than just you being like, oh, I can create heat in my hands and transfer that to you. What am I transferring? So I had a mentor, a spiritual mentor, that taught me how to create a pyramid above my head and move my energy up into this pyramid. So that when I'm channeling energy, I'm not channeling my energy per se into you. I'm calling in energy, like I'm calling in your ancestors. I'm calling in your spirit guide. I'm calling in the people that are already surrounding you that want to give you energy, but you're just not open to them giving you energy. So when you come to me for healing, it's their energy that I'm using to push through to your chakras. I'm not using my energy because that's my energy.
Right.
And that's my ancestors that give me my energy, but you need to utilize your energy. So when I'm opening your chakras up, I'm also opening you up to information, like just being open. Like when you see this and you're like, oh, that reminds me of my mom, or that reminds me of my grandma, just know that that's her saying, don't do that, or do that, or this is my blessing. Like when someone that you love pops into your head, that's their way of saying that I'm with you, like I'm with you. But we're so disconnected because we've grown up in a colonial society where they don't have connections to death, that we don't have a connection to these people that have passed away. So when I'm doing healing, I'm bringing everybody in the room, all the family into the space. Okay, so I do the Reiki, getting all your chakras. Before I do the Reiki, I do saging. So I tap into the Native American modality as far as like what they're healing. Saging is excellent because the saging also opens up, like it opens you up, and it also kind of like clears any type of negativity or any type of baggage that you might have hanging over you. So that smoke also is good for you. So I utilize their healing modality, do the Reiki, the Japanese, and then at the end I use my Tibetan bowl to do sound healing. So that means you're getting 3 modalities of healing in one session. So we're saging you, clearing you, and then we're transferring energy, heating up your chakras, and then the last step is sealing in that like vibration, like keeping you where you are. Once you've had all of these steps, gone through these steps, like the sound bowl is literally the getting everything on the right vibration. And when we say energy, you have to know that if your vibration is off, your energy is off, everything around you is going to be off. So that means like when, like we were talking about work, your energy is off because behaviors at work are able to like interfere with your natural energy. So if you come in vibrating up, they can't bother you because you're literally vibrating away from the frequency that they're on. And for me, that's what I like. I vibrate up. So either you want to be on this vibration, so you're going to vibrate up too, or I'm going to vibrate away from you because we're not on the same level. And it's as simple as that. I've lost friends because I started vibing up and they don't want to change. So what are you going to do when the people around you don't want to change, but you are constantly evolving or you're in transition? You have to leave them alone. Like I love you and I wish you well, but I'm not standing here with you. I'm not staying here in this where we met. Come with me. It's going to be a great leveling or evolution, or stay where you are. It's not personal. And that's where we have to start disconnecting that. Like, just because you've been friends for 25 years doesn't mean that this is going to be 30. Like, we're changing, and if that person isn't willing to make the same changes that you're making, sometimes you're just going to be that friend I see when I see.
So when it comes to raising your frequency, can you say that Reiki healing can also do that, or is that more of a personal, individual?
I feel like Reiki can, like, raise your vibration, because it's turning your chakras. So it's putting energy into your chakras. So if your chakras are supposed to be this bright, illuminating color and they're like a murky color, then when you have more energy added to it, they're able to spin in that colorful, fast, vibrant energy. So really, it's about you putting yourself in the right environments that allow you to vibrate up. I love what Kat does with the Mercado, because she's literally constantly creating an environment for people to come and link up with other spiritual people, like other positive businesses, positive vibrations, like the drum circle on the full moon. That brings out so many people that don't even realize, like, that drum is calling your soul, like, and the dancing that comes from that. So, like, people are connecting in these communities that we once didn't have that access to, or you look weird if you're doing this, or you can't dance under the full moon. Like, no, the people that want to dance under the full moon are finding the people that want to dance under the full moon, that are drumming under the full moon. Okay, so you can find me on Instagram under Affirmed One, the number. You can find me on Facebook under Affirmed Kreations, and that's Kreations with a K, Kreations, Kreations. Um, and my website is A1, the number, Kreations with a K.com. And let's see. And you can find me on Dream Walking with Tanisha, Dreamwalker Tanisha. So if you have any questions, or you would like to do a reading, or you would like to do a healing, please contact us. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. Like I told Tanisha, I've been off the internet for like 5 or 6 years, and it's been so peaceful. So she is literally getting me out of my comfort zone and into my bag. And I appreciate her for this. And I look forward to hearing and seeing from y'all.